Just enjoying the British weather with my little cup of tea. Can't get more British than that. And I thought I'd just record a video today because I feel like I always touch on topics and subjects of things that I've worked through and how I've worked through it. But I think it'd be good to get to know me a little bit more on like a deeper level and understand why I am the way I am, you know, to give you a bit of strength as well, to know that actually, just because I'm a strong person now who speaks her mind, who can be quite direct sometimes, I wasn't always that person. To talk through some of my healing journey, like some of the challenges I've had and some of the things that have come up and some of the patterns that I've followed for years and years and years, and how much of a struggle it was to break those patterns. And to this day, I still struggle with those patterns and they still pop up in my everyday life. But I hope by giving this story and kind of talking through everything and going to different parts of it, that actually, if you're going through it right now, it's someone that's actually spoken about it, so it doesn't feel like you're going through it alone. But also that you don't feel like embarrassed by it. I think I was embarrassed for the longest time, and I went through so much at such a short period of time, such a young age, that I relived those patterns without even realising I had those patterns. And then when I realised them, I felt so embarrassed and like I couldn't talk about it, and that maybe I'd get in trouble talking about it. And like, these are all things, you know, these are things that happened in my like young age, in my early 20s, and it's not anything like recent. It's not anything in the last few years, because in the last few years, that's when I've been doing the healing, I've been doing the work. So just know that if you're going through any of this, you're not alone. And on this channel, I love to promote all things to do with helping you build your self-confidence, encouraging you to be your authentic self, and just being your virtual cheerleader, because you deserve the world. And now my arm's getting achy with this cup of tea, so I'm going to pop it down here. So if that sounds like your vibe, I would absolutely love if you could like and subscribe. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about certain things of my life that were patterns that I didn't know that I was living, that I was doing, unhealthy coping mechanisms. Because I think that's the thing. A lot of times when you've had a lot of things happen in life, or you've gone through a lot, some people go to alcohol, to drugs, because they can't handle the emotions. And you just want to run away from those emotions. Let's be honest. You don't want to hit them head on. And when you do hit them head on, it feels so overwhelming. So one of the patterns that I found was a real difficult one for me, and something that I just did out on autopilot, and I didn't kind of think much of it until I got a bit older, was overgiving. Now, I've grown up, I'm going to pop this little cup of tea over here. I've grown up in an environment where I felt like I was a therapist child. I felt like I was always there to listen to my mum's problems, and sadly my dad was not the most emotionally in tune, so I felt like I got a lot of the kind of pressure to be that therapist child, to be there to support and to be her little confidant. And looking back now, I definitely throughout life was like, okay, so this means it's normal for me to just be someone's therapist. Okay, that's rude. The birds are kind of making noises. They're agreeing with me. But it made me feel like I had to be people's therapist, and like listening to people's problems was normal. It was normal. It was something that absolutely, I would literally go and say to people, like, if you ever need to talk about it, I'm here. And it's people that I didn't even know, because I felt like I had to be their therapist, so I felt like I had to manage their emotions. But when it came to myself, did I ever speak about my emotions? Did I ever go into it? No, I didn't. I absolutely didn't, because I felt like my duty was to be their person to listen to, their therapist, and then that gets you into unbalanced dynamics and unbalanced friendships. And like, bringing this up, I obviously mean no disrespect to my mum. You know, I think she did what she could. But do I think it's right? I do not think it's right. But that's nor here nor there. I won't ever discuss things too in depth from that side, because I have respect there. And I will never bring up things unless it's been agreed about my siblings, because again, I have so much respect for them. And I'm telling you now, I will protect them so fiercely. Honestly, like, I will protect them at all costs. Not that they need it, because they're pretty damn strong. Like, my younger sister is pretty feisty, and she won't take shit. But anyway, so overgiving. So I always found that when I was younger, like I said, I was I was a therapist child. Like, it would always come up to me, like, if there's any problems, you know. I always felt from that I had to be the strong one. And the domino effect from having to be the strong one is, sadly, I didn't batter any emotions. That I held them all in, and I kind of just accumulated them, and I just ignored them. And I was just not emotional. I mean, I was probably emotional, but as in emotion-wise, I would hold it in because I thought it was my duty to be the strong one. I wanted to show that I could be that child that could hold it together, that could be the person to fix things. And when you go through life like that, thinking that you have to overgive and you have to fix, it is so exhausting. And sadly, you end up attracting unbalanced dynamics, unbalanced friendships, relationships, anything like that, which is not something that you should be having. You deserve friendships, and I've realised this in time, and I have friendships like this now, but I deserve friendships that are 50-50, you know, that will give what they get, and they're not going to kind of take advantage. But the thing is, again, where I grew up in that dynamic thinking that I had to overgive and I had to constantly be on, when I did help someone or fix someone, it made me feel important. It made me feel like I'd made a difference in that person's life. It made me feel good. But at the same time, it was for their purpose, their benefit, not for me. So when it came to my own problems, I just kept them in. I bunched them all inside, kept them the lid so tightly on that I never experienced how it was like anger. Anger, I just didn't feel it. I didn't feel any anger. As I've got older even, like not necessarily when I was a child, because I definitely had like moments where I had to count to 10. And I remember I was so angry. Maybe this is just the suppression from it all. Maybe that's what it was. But I remember being quite young and getting so angry that I had to breathe in a brown paper bag. Like that's how friggin' frustrated I was. And I do think that a lot of the anxiety I experienced and a lot of the kind of parts of my childhood which were really intense, which I might go into in next parts of the videos, I haven't fully decided yet, but like from all of that, because it was so tense, I think the anxiety came from there. I think all of that pressure that was put on me just made me feel, again, responsible, not just for people's feelings and being people's therapist, but also people's emotions. And that made me be super hyper vigilant. So I can walk into a room and be aware of everyone's emotions. And when I realised after doing therapy, which is another thing, that's something I did a couple years ago, which is when this all came to light. And the thing I didn't realise about therapy, I thought, I can just talk through my feelings, it's fine. No. The thing that happened with me with therapy, which I'm also grateful for, is it brought everything to the surface. Like, it brought the anger to the surface. It brought the sadness to the surface. It brought the anxiety to the surface. And all of last year, I spent healing it. So I literally, everything I learned in therapy from my childhood and my early 20s, I then all of a sudden started getting this influx of emotions. And to be honest, because I never felt things like beforehand, it was every month or whatever, I feel a bit overwhelmed and that was it. But when it came to emotions of anger or anything like that, I wouldn't feel it. Like for the longest time, I couldn't cry. Like the emotions just wouldn't come out of me. I just couldn't cry. But also it's not because I couldn't cry, I don't feel like I could cry. I would stop myself. So I would literally stop myself. As soon as I'm about to cry, I'm like, no. Because I defaulted to that young girl, that young little baby Charlie that felt she had to hold everything together. And rather than letting myself experience those emotions, I'd be like, no, I need to be the strong one. I can't feel this. And that carried on to my adult life. And imagine how bad that is, that I just couldn't experience a simple emotion. And it wasn't even around people, it was by myself. I would stop myself from feeling those emotions because I'd programmed myself to be like, no, I need to be the strong one. I need to hold it all together. I need to fix any problem. And there's no point. Like, hold that emotion in. Stand straight. Don't hold it. Don't let it out. Don't let emotion come out. Keep it all in. And it's so crazy. Like, it's so crazy. Now I look back. Now I am open about my feelings. Because that's the hardest thing. When you try and be the therapist child and you're there for your parent, and the dynamic is like that, first of all, it's a lot of pressure. Like, it's a hell of a lot of pressure. So I am unlearning becoming such a overachiever and stop putting so much pressure on myself. Like, I'm unlearning that because I know that's not healthy. But another thing I'm learning is sharing my feelings, sharing my emotions. And I tell you what, because I'm hyper independent, again, I'm unlearning that too. This is all things that I'll talk about in these, I don't know how many parts this will be, but this is all things I'll talk about in my videos. But I am unlearning the thought that my emotions, I shouldn't talk about them. So now, naturally, when I talk to you about my emotions, I'll get that feeling inside like, oh, I don't want to talk about it, but I'm going to do it. And do you know what? I feel less alone and I feel so much better after. Cup of tea's back. Because I deserve someone to also listen to me. Like, Open up about my emotions, open up about your emotions is not a bad thing. It's not a negative. It should be encouraged. You shouldn't hold it all inside, because the more you hold it inside, it is going to bubble to the surface. And I promise you, it's so much better to speak to those people that you trust. It doesn't even have to be a big group of people, but there'll be people that you will trust that you should gravitate towards and talk about your feelings. It shouldn't be a taboo subject. And if anyone makes you feel bad about speaking about your emotions, which might be your biggest fear, like my biggest fear was, I can't talk about my emotions because people are going to think I'm too sensitive. People are going to think I'm too emotional. People are going to think this, and this. No, because the people that love you will want to make sure you're okay. They'll want to support you and they'll want to be there for you. And if they're overwhelmed with their own life, then it's up to them to go, I really want to be here for you, but I'm so overwhelmed right now. And then you just go to someone else that you can also support you, because you deserve to be heard. And if you've grown up in the same dynamic where you've had to be the therapist and you've had to take on someone else's emotions and you kind of held back your own, like, I'm not saying that I was told that my emotions weren't valid or anything like that, but that's how I felt as a child. That's how I defaulted. And I'll be honest, you know, emotions weren't really spoken about. Like, we didn't really talk about emotions. Like, I feel like in our dynamic as a family, emotions were just kind of brushed under the rug. And for me, going forward in life, I just don't want to live like that. And that is why with my friends, with people online, I'm so authentic and honest and straight to the point sometimes, because I think it's so important that we discuss these topics. I think it's so important that we normalise talking about emotions and not making people feel too much. Because emotions are meant to be spoken about. They're meant to be explored. And the more you hold them in, that is when it gets dicey. That is when it's not good, because you'll end up internalising everything and you'll feel like shit. So the next time that you're brave enough to speak about how you're feeling and things that are coming to light for you, if anyone makes you feel rejected or like you're too much, first of all, that is awful. That should not be the case. That is, again, second of all, that is all on them. That is nothing to do with you, my honey. You keep sharing those emotions. It's important. It's brave. It's so, so brave. Try not to internalise it. Try not to take it that it's something's wrong with you, because absolutely not. It is their capacity and their maturity level. And if someone does something wrong, I think the one thing for me, the one thing I find really frustrating, I'm about to give you the tea. The one thing I find really, really frustrating is when someone can't take accountability. Like, they don't even have to agree with you. They don't have to agree with how you feel about things, but at least appreciate where I've come from, right? At least appreciate that actually I've made you feel this certain type of way. And that's the other thing about emotions. If someone doesn't agree with you, if you're expressing your feelings that upset you and someone doesn't agree with you, they can obviously not like agree with what you're saying and think that's not the case. But it's important to say, do you know what? I didn't want to make you feel like that. I'm sorry for making you feel like that. You know, and then from there, obviously you decide if actually that is who I am, or if you're the person that's getting obviously called out for it, you either decide, okay, is this who I am? Do I appreciate this about myself? Do I know this about myself? Because you might be blind to it, and then that person bring it to your attention. You can be like, okay, I can take accountability and move forward. But if you don't agree with it, it's who you are, then maybe your friendship doesn't align anymore, and that's okay. We all outgrow friendships. But yeah, don't ever feel like you expressing how you feel is too much, because again, it bubbles in the surface, and it goes into that whole generation. And I think I understand like the boomer generation, and this isn't everyone, because I feel like everyone's very open-minded, and there's a lot of people, like my nan is so open-minded, like she really is. She's in her 80s, bless her, so I don't even know if that's boomer or if that's the one before. But anyway, so she's very open-minded, right? So it's not everyone, but I really hate the mentality of, no, hold it together, don't show your emotions. Oh, men should be tougher, men should hold it together. Oh, this sensitive shit. No, that is so wrong. Like, what? Because a man's expressing how he feels, he should hold it together? No, because let's be honest, the suicide rate is higher in men, because men think they have to be strong and they can't speak about their emotions. It is such a toxic mentality, honestly. I couldn't disagree with something more. And you can feel the frustration in my voice, honestly. Like, it is not okay. Men are just as important, and it's, if not more, to express their emotions than women, because we should be open with each other. We should be able to express those things. And if you don't agree with this, I'm cool with that. Like, skip along. This video's not for you. This content's not for you. But I can't sit here and be okay with that. I can't sit here and be okay with people saying, no, just brush it under the rug. Like, you shouldn't talk about your feelings. That is how mental health escalates. That is how problems happen. That is how people end up, you know, leaving this planet, because they're just not, they can't talk to anyone, or they feel like they shouldn't, or they feel like they have to hold it in. And I've been there. I've had times where I've gone, do you know what? I don't know if I can do this. Like, this again was when I was in my early 20s and I was put on sertraline. And I did, I'm just being really careful what you can say online. But I did do things for attention. Absolutely. Because I just had all these emotions inside and I didn't understand them. And I thought, right, what's the best thing to do? And sadly, doctors will give you antidepressants really easy. They'll just go, here you go, like, here's an antidepressant. And it's bad, because I think the thing is, if you actually end up going to therapy and talking about your emotions, which I get not everyone can afford, that is a really good way of healing it. So the problem with antidepressants is most of the time they are just a band-aid. They will just cover up what the problem is. They won't actually solve it. They're not going to cause you any sort of, they'll temporarily block it. And obviously if you are happy on antidepressants and they've made a massive difference in your life, I'm here for it. Fair play to you. But I just believe in the approach of actually open Pandora's box, as unpretty as it is, and exploring exactly what is holding you back and what is causing you problems and giving you that anxiety. And therapy is not a quick fix, guys. I did it for a year, and then after therapy, I was like, oh, this is feelings. Like, I remember there's been times where it's taken me a bit of time to understand, like, to feel something. Or, like, at one point, I just didn't feel anything. Like, I literally felt no emotions. And I'll be honest with you, with how intense those emotions felt when they came back, at points I was like, I just want to not feel again. Like, I don't want to feel again. But it's part of opening Pandora's box and going, do you know what? I'm going to hit these demons head on, and I'm going to do it in a healthy way. I'm not going to do it where I go on antidepressants. Again, like, if that's for you, then fine. I don't judge you for that. I think if that's got to that point and that's what you need, absolutely, I celebrate it. I know people on them and I love them for it, but it's just not the approach I want personally now. Like, in my early 20s, I did that. But now I'm like, no, I want to get to the core, to the root. And I did. And how can I live the next 30 years? Like, I want to make an empire. I want to make something for myself. I want to make a name for myself. Healing phase was so necessary, like, honestly, so necessary, because it's helped me really get deep in feeling all the emotions, everything that comes up for me, understand the patterns that I was living in and how they weren't going to benefit me, because I was just in survival mode. And I'm still learning those patterns today, and they still pop up for me. But you best believe I'm going to be a fighter. I'm going to keep going. I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to give up. But that is something I've learned. I've learned not to overgive in situations. I've learned that actually me expressing my emotions isn't dangerous. Guys, it's not dangerous. It's necessary. And find the right group of people that will support you. Because if anyone makes you feel negatively about sharing your emotions, that has everything to do with them and they're not good. Like, that's not okay. Or it could be that they've not actually met themselves at an emotional level and they're not emotionally mature enough. And that is not a you problem. So never feel discouraged on sharing your emotions. You are not too much. You are not too intense. And if you've grown up in a dynamic where you think you have to hold everything together, that you have to suppress your emotions, that you have a lot of responsibility put on you at a certain age that isn't okay, you are not alone. If you're going through that right now and you're noticing, actually, I'm being a therapist for my parent, like, I feel a bit weird about this, it's because it's not fair. It's an imbalance in dynamics. So I know it's not as easy to kind of get up and leave, but if it is the case that you're going through this, just keep focusing on yourself, do what you can, reach out to your friends, when you're in school, speak to people to look after you and to hear you, and find that safe space for yourself. Find that safe person that you can speak to about things, and don't feel embarrassed or like your emotions should be kept in taboo. No. We need to end this pandemic. We need to end this whole mindset of emotions shouldn't be talked about. We need to normalise speaking about our emotions and being open and authentic and vulnerable. If someone takes advantage of that, then they are a piece of shit and they deserve not to be in your life. Because I think that's definitely been me in the past. I've been scared someone take advantage of the fact that I'm so open. But I'm like, do you know what? That says, again, a lot about them and not about me. You're going to get through this. Try and find, again, if you're in that dynamic now and you're a younger child, I am here for you. I hear you. But it gets better. I am now 30. I am now living on my own. I'm, supporting myself. And I'm building my dream life. And I am going to get there. And if you feel isolated right now, I promise you, you've got this. You're going to get through this. You have so much strength and inner power. And the imbalance is not your fault. And your emotions are important and you deserve to speak about them, be open about them. And if you're at this stage as well, where you don't notice that these are what happen, or you're just starting to notice about these dynamics, please avoid numbing your emotions with alcohol and drugs. I know it seems like the quick fix, but this is the problem with nowadays, where emotions are so stored up and not talked about and not normalised. People will resort to other things to get that emotional high, to process their emotions. Or because people can't handle it, they will naturally just go towards drugs or drinking because it gives them that high all the time. But that is literally, again, masking a problem. And you deserve to live a happy and healthy life. You deserve to feel good every day. You deserve to feel happy and positive. And people always say to me, I'm such a positive person. I am a positive person because I chose light over darkness. I chose myself and to build a life and build the patterns that are good and positive for me and not follow the same patterns that I've been taught growing up. And again, this is no shade to anyone, but this is me speaking my truth to hopefully help people that have been in similar dynamics, that feel alone, or that are going through it at the moment. I hear you. And you're not going through this alone. I am here. But also to show you that actually it doesn't define you. It doesn't define who you're going to be and who you are, or it's your past, right? It's who you were or part of what you grew up in. It's not your fault, first of all, and it doesn't define who you are going to become because you choose who you are going to become. You choose light over darkness. I chose light over darkness. And I chose healthy coping mechanisms. I've never been into drinking a lot. I go out every so often, like for a celebration or just if I really need to go out and have fun. But I don't drink a lot. And for me, like, using drinking as a suppressant has always been, like, I've seen that, again, like, growing up, I've seen, like, using alcohol and stuff, like, drinking and stuff like that. And I guess, like, if people enjoy it on their own free time. But I've seen people drink because they can't handle what's going on in their life. Or they think, do you know what, this is a nice thing to do and it's gonna get me away from reality, and I just personally don't like that. So it's encouraged me to do the opposite. And again, I don't really get much benefits from alcohol. I'm quite lively anyway, so for me it's like I don't need it. I absolutely don't need it. But your girlie might go on a little bottomless brunch. And also I'm just a deep soul. Like, I love deep conversations, so I want to go somewhere where we can be sound mind and just talk about everything and just go into it and be like really open and authentic. And get into those like DMCs, like the deep conversations, rather than always going out drinking and just never getting to know someone and just being fun. Which again, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's just not my vibe. And I just feel like with the friends I have, I've connected so much deeper because we have that mutual understanding and we just get to know each other without any kind of influence in the way. And the one thing I'm grateful about my friends right now is that they're also emotionally open, they'll talk about things, and they don't make me feel too much. So again, if you're in the dynamic where you're worried about feeling too much, then try it. Test it with your friends. And if it's the case they make you feel too much, it's nothing about you. I'm again proof that my friends don't make me feel too much. But that is because, again, we have choices in life. I chose light. I chose to have good friends. I chose to circle myself with people that bring me happiness and joy. And I chose myself. And you deserve to be choosing yourself and be number one. So yeah, but this will be a little part one, but I'll definitely go into different segments and hopefully they help, and hopefully it helps you feel a little bit less alone in this world, and hopefully it encourages you and pushes you to start talking about your feelings and your emotions and stop seeing them as such a bad thing. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week, as beautiful as you, and you embrace yourself, embrace who you are. Ciao for now, Bellas.